Hello everyone, and welcome back to SimRacingOnline for what will be the final round of the Lola T70 MarkII challenge. This is the round from Stardust, a track which very few people have ever heard of, and it's my first time ever seeing this this track in action, so I'm interested to see what it can provide. The championship has already, of course, been decided. Maddie Shepherd wrapped it up last time out by winning at Riverside, and today it's all about the battle for second between Phil Kraus, Laurent Lons, and a couple of other drivers who are outside shouts for that, potentially Lorenzo Galuzzi, Matteo Santini, but chances are it's going to be, I'm not sure that Santini actually is in contention there. I think it's just going to be between Kraus and Lons, with the potential of Galuzzi getting involved. Anyway, as for the Stardust International Circuit, this is a track that opened in 1965 and closed only a few years later in 1971, but in that time it did host several sports car races, Trans Am races, and even a Champ Car race, which was won by Bobby Unser. Now, I personally had never heard of this track before, and I know a lot of people also had not. But obviously, Can-Am has raced here before, and these Lola T70 MarkIIs are, of course, Can-Am based cars. And in 1966, at this circuit, a Team Surtees Lola T70 MarkII won this race. So this is a car with history here. Also, Lola T70 Mark III's won in '67, twice actually. Once with the United States Road Racing Championship and once with Can-Am. But anyway, back to the qualifying session. We've only just started this qualifying session. Phil Brown here is looking to be the first driver to post a lap. He's just finished his well, what I thought would be his first flying lap, but it looks as if the timer has only just started for him. So it looks to me as if he's now on a flying lap. So let's ride on board, if we can, with Phil Brown's car. Now, if you are watching along, I would very much appreciate you telling me if you can hear me okay, because last time out, there's a reason why the cars are so quiet here, and it's because I've turned it down to make sure you can hear me. Last time out, of course, you could barely hear me over the sound of the engines, and that was a mistake on my part. But anyway, so if someone could update me to tell me if I am audible, that would be very much appreciated. Okay, so Phil Brown here, heading towards the end of the second sector. No real barriers to speak of on the circuit, at least not on the interior. So hopefully we don't get cars sliding across from one side of the track to the other. That wouldn't be good. The track looks to be relatively simple in terms of its layout. It's a typical kind of boomerang or banana shaped race circuit with a couple of complicated S's, but most of it is just kind of standard boomerang shape. Brown about to complete a lap, and it's a 135.666, so that is his benchmark, and it's immediately beaten by Mark Johnson, Phil Kraus, and others. Phil Kraus, of course, one of the drivers heading to a potential second in this championship, and of course he's already in second in the championship, despite there's a couple of cars are off there. Despite not making every round of the championship. Kraus, of course, missed one. He missed the first one, but ever since then he has been very, very good indeed. Now, we are expecting much fewer races today than at some of the previous rounds, although luckily it appears we've got 10, and I wasn't sure that we would. So congrats to these drivers on getting into the double digits, I guess, or to SimRacingOnline, I should say. That often happens towards the end of a series when there's less up for grabs and all of that. Sometimes you do get smaller entry lists. Now, why is Drake in a car that I associate with Shepherd? Oh, that's going to be confusing, because look at that, Shepherd is now in a different car. So that's confusing. Let's have a look at the drivers quickly to see. So Kraus is still in the car that I remember him in. Shepard is in a car that's completely different because Sid Drake is in Shepard's usual car. Of course, all the cars have the same performance, and Lauren Lunt's there not in his normal livery as well. God. Well, that'll be tough to keep up with. Anyway, talking of Lund, he has not set a representative lap time yet. 150 is, I mean, he could definitely do a lot better than that, and I'm sure that he will in this qualifying session. Although Lund struggled last time out at Riverside, he wasn't the quickest, and ended up losing the championship a round early after finishing only 6th. The earlier rounds in the championship were a lot more successful for Lund, although he hasn't yet picked up a victory. There we go, look at that, 135.205. Phil Kraus leading by a long way right now, but at least Lauren Lund has now set a representative lap time. There's Maddie Shepard just getting out of the way of Lund, who is on a lap. Maxim Tendel up ahead in these complicated S's, clipping, well, very nearly clipping the tyres. And I'm told actually by Maddie Shepard that the sand on the edges of the circuit is very grippy, it slows you down a lot. So you don't want to end up getting your wheels in the grass here, because it could catch you out. An 11th driver just set a lap time there. So actually, because last time out we had 12 drivers, so we may end up having as many as last time. That would be something. Phil Brown goes second, 135.076. And at this stage, it's almost feeling like best of the rest behind Kraus, because look at that pace. If you haven't seen the amazing battle between Phil Kraus and Maddie Shepard from last time out at Riverside, then put that in your watch later, because that was quite a fight. And to be honest, I think either of those drivers could have won and probably deserved to win. Maxim Tendel starting another flying lap. Big lock-up from a driver ahead of him. Phil Kraus still 1.3 seconds faster than anyone else right now. Now the Can-Am lap time, or the Can-Am lap record at this circuit was a 129.63 set by Bruce McLaren in 1968. These cars are of course slightly earlier than that, so probably don't have the same outright pace. But 133.764 is Kraus's lap time. Well, it's kind of now up to 4th. That's impressive. Ahead of the champion-elect, Maddie Shepard. Interesting. Of course, there is a chance that Shepard hasn't been practicing as much for this one, knowing that she's already wrapped up the championship. But anyway, still an impressive lap from Matkainen. Yeah, talking of that, it is interesting to see Shepard almost 2 seconds off the pace, especially considering how close she was with Phil Kraus last time out. So towards the start-finish line, another lap about to be set for Maxim Tendel. Let's see if he can jump himself up the order. Slight improvement. Shepard now does improve, as I expected. 134.116 puts her second, and the first driver within a second, I'm going to sneeze, sorry. Anyway, the first driver within a second, and within half a second of Phil Kraus's time. Very impressive. So let's see who else we can find who is in contention here. Phil Kraus appears to be improving on his own time. And it seems as good a time as any to ride on board with one of these Lola T70 MarkII Can-Am sports cars. And he's up on his time. Did you see that in the bottom right? Looks as if he's improving. into a braking zone for a left-hander. And we're in the final sector of the circuit now. There's just a heavy braking zone there to go, and then we're out onto the start-finish straight to complete another lap. And this may be an improvement from Phil Kraus to make himself even more unbeatable, and it's not. He's very close to improving, but he's just down, so maybe didn't get the third sector that he wanted. Here's Phil Brown, currently P3. There's big gaps in the top 3, I'm afraid to say. That's okay, the race is what matters, but even so. Phil Brown doesn't really stand much chance of getting into the top 2 here unless he can find something absolutely magical. Instead, he will be aiming to pull away from Lons, Matakainen, etc. behind him. So even if they do improve, they don't knock him off his perch. Lons goes third, just as I say that, so Lons does knock him off his perch, and by quite a way too, half a second. What can Brown do to improve on that? He's in the final... That's not the final sector. I don't recognise that little chicane there. I don't think that's on my track map. Interesting. Guess I have to find a better track map. Anyway. Across the line comes Phil Brown, and it's a slight improvement, but he stays 4th. Kraus and Lons both appear to be off the road, and I'm not sure if either of them will get another round. To be honest, looking at the lap timer, they may well. Lons is just setting up for one, it seems. Here's Kimi Matikainen. He has really impressed me so far, because with no disrespect to him, I did not expect him in the top 5 today. Must be that Maddie Shepherd paint scheme. I swear it was Sid Drake who had the Shepherd style. Oh, it was, so both of them do. There's been a real reshuffle of the skins for some weird reason. And that's not ideal, but anyway. So, out of the final corner, and big twitch and into the pits, so Matikainen will not improve on that time. Past all the many cars, the plethora of cars parked in the pits. Let's take a look at Shepherd, see if she's on an improvement. That looked pretty fast there past the cones, but it's difficult to see lap time. Brown improves, 134.363, so Brown goes back up to 3rd. Swipes Lons off the provisional podium. What can Shepherd do? This is the final sequence of corners she's approaching. There's just a little wiggle, and Kraus improved, so it's going to be even tougher, and Kraus improved by a long way. It's a 133.380. Surely that's unbeatable. Shepherd with the 4-wheel drift out of the final corner, comes across the line, and it's going to be an improvement, but a long way down on Kraus. Kraus is very quick today. That's almost unbelievable. Well, I'm not sure that anyone else is going to improve. Let's take a look at Phil Brown, just in case. I don't know if he did cross the start-finish line before the checkered flag, but his timer appears to be counting. No, he is pulling off. So that is the end of the qualifying session. Sid Drake about to cross the line. Oh, improves to 7th, so there was another improvement to come. And I think that will be it, maybe. Stephen Hayward isn't last, because I'm sure we saw an 11th car earlier on. Don't know where they've gone on my timing screen, but anyway. Unless they left. In which case we may have 10 cars at the start of this race, but even so, double digits. It may be the least we've had all season, but it's still a decent SRO grid. still a proper club race. And just to show you the speed that Kraus has got, Hayward is currently over 3.5. And look at that, and Kraus improved again. I didn't realise he reached the timing line in time to improve. 1:33.103. That is unbelievable. So Phil Kraus is going to take some beating here today. And I'm really not sure if anyone can do it, because that is an unbelievable lap. Stephen Hayward there crossing the line. Gets within 5 seconds of Kraus. Now we appear to be well into the overtime, and the session should have finished by now. Although it's allowing drivers back out onto the track, and it's not taking over into its next session. Now I don't know why that is. Is there someone parked out on track maybe? Well, MarkII's out there, but he shouldn't be because he's been into the pits. And Stephen Hayward's seen the checkered flag. Now I expect that our race director John van der Geest will instruct the server to change to the race session very shortly, but I've never seen this happen before. I've never seen the server seem to refuse to end qualifying. That is very bizarre. And I thought that when Kraus ended his lap, when Kraus improved his lap, he'd cross the line after, and there we go. I thought he'd cross the line after the the timer, but anyway. So Kraus takes pole, followed by Shepherd, and then Brown, Luns, MarkII, Johnson, Drake, Lackinen, Tyndall, Hayward, and then Donny Yorth was the 11th driver to set a lap, so we did have 11 drivers setting laps in that session. And that is quite a lap time there. Unfortunate to see two number 18s in the on the front two rows of the grid. Hopefully that doesn't get confusing. And come to think of it, the 23s, the 30s, they're very close as well. And actually the 198s, Lackinen and Tyndall, starting right together, nose to tail, on the starting grid. I guess it has to be that way sometimes, but I really wish that it didn't. John van der Geest says he's not racing today because he doesn't like this car. That's a shame. But yeah, what a pole time from Phil Kraus there. And that's not dramatic for Maddie Shepherd, because of course she has already wrapped up the championship. But if she wants to take a win to seal the deal, she's going to have to go faster than that. So just a reminder, Phil Kraus is fighting with Lauren Luns and Lorenzo Galuzzi for second in the championship, but Galuzzi is not here today, so it's just Kraus versus Luns. Fifth in the championship is Matteo Santini. And it's Phil Brown, Mark Johnson, Jos Ogos, Maxime Tyndall, and John van der Geest, the top 10 in the championship. And the team standings appear to be pretty set in the way of Maple Motorsports, which contain Maddie Shepherd and Phil Kraus, although a lot of drivers don't really look at the team's standings. It's all about the drivers here in SRO. So there's your grid of Lola T70s, and I can't click to go back to the pits right now, but that's okay, because as you can tell, my car is in there, and we're just watching the front of the grid. That white car there is Phil Brown, and Maddie Shepherd is the other white car with the blue front. This has been a very exciting championship. We've had battles for the lead at Zandvoort, at Riverside, and at Laguna Seca, of course. And those were wonderful rounds. Road America and Bridgehampton were a little more straightforward, but even so, decent races. 3 wins to Maddie Shepherd, 1 to Phil Kraus, and 1 to Matteo Santini. And it's been an unpredictable one in general, even though it was pretty much dominated by Maddie Shepherd. It's rare to see a 6-race championship be won around before the end. Talking of six red lights coming up now. And when they go out, we will be underway for an hour of racing here at Stardust. And it's go, and away at the front, go. Phil Kraus and Maddie Shepherd, and it's almost 4 wide behind. Hopefully everyone gets through cleanly towards the first corner. It's a fast kink to the right. That's a dangerous place to be, but it looks as if everyone's okay. Brown's through to third. Kraus leads as he expected to do so. Lackinen up to 6th there. Now look at, is that MarkII taking a look at Lons? That's the feistiest I've seen him all season. All 11 drivers. Oh, and Shepherd locking up in front. Did you see that? And wide, and off goes Kraus. And Shepherd takes the lead. Now I don't know whether they touched, but that looked awfully close between the two Maple Motorsports cars. That really did look awfully close. But Shepherd leads the race. And Shepherd dips wheels in the grass. In the sand, I suppose I should say. There's not really that much grass here. Keeps it under control. Brown and Lons side by side behind. Up in front, it looks as if we're going to have round 2 of the Shepherd-Kraus battle from last time out. Brown consolidates third. There's a big chain of cars forming back there as the leaders get away, as they did last time out. This is very reminiscent of what we saw back then. Kraus looks to be going for the lead. He set up Shepherd well. Goes to the inside. They put on the brakes and Kraus goes through. So, Kraus will not lead every lap of this race. Shepherd led the first lap. It's the last lap that counts though. Now remember, later on in the race we also have a pit stop stage. We also have a pit window. Well, there's no official pit window, but realistically the drivers are going to be pitting from maybe halfway through the race to 4/6 of the way through the race. And they all have to change all 4 tyres. And some will refuel as well. So when you do that, and what kind of traffic you come out in may well decide the fate of this race. It'll definitely be important. Another mistake from Shepherd. That's where she made a mistake a lap ago. Didn't look quite so dramatic this time, but that may just be it because she wasn't leading. And she's now dropping back from Kraus. So hopefully later we get a battle between the two of them. But for now, Kraus appears to have the advantage. Behind Brown and Lyons. And MarkII and Johnson still keeping up with them. And Lackinen, Drake and Tyndall. It's a real chain from 3rd to 9th. That's what we love to see. Kraus's last lap over 1.3 seconds faster than Shepherd. He is running away with this so far. And sorry, and I think Drake got a bad exit to that final corner because he's now been passed by Haywood and Tyndall in all of that. Yorth catching Drake as well. So, a slightly hectic start to the race. Luckily, not as unclean as it could have been. And all the 11 drivers still running. And still with all of their bodywork attached. And that's good, because we've got an hour of this. 56 more minutes from now. And you don't want to be throwing it away, believing that you can win it in the first lap. Here's a tip, you can. Someone kicking up the dust just ahead. That would have been Lackinen or Haywood. Someone in that little chain there. And off goes Haywood. So Haywood, one of the first drivers to make a real mistake, and drops down to the back of the grid. So Haywood loses 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th in that. Didn't see exactly how it happened. Brown now up to second, so Shepard's made a mistake. Look at how slowly Shepard's going. Brown and Lund are now up onto the podium. So it's going to be a recovery drive from Shepard, it seems. Wow. And Yorth now up to... And Drake, ooh, dropping back. Does Hayward get up the inside? Not quite, that would have been for 10th place. But yeah, dramatic turn of events for Maddie Shepard, who led the first lap of the race. And that means that after just 5 minutes of racing, Phil Kraus is leading by 7 seconds. That's really, really unbelievable. Oh! Oh no, and that was a big mistake. Who was that? Mark Johnson. That wasn't Johnson, that would have been Jari Lakkinen. So Lakkinen got right over the tyres, launched in the air and went for a big slide. I don't think he's lost the position, but he's dropped a long way back from Johnson as a result. He's lucky there was a big gap behind him to Tyndall, and he's been able to keep the position. But yeah, that was quite dramatic. And judging by how much those tyres protrude there, I wouldn't be surprised to see other drivers doing the same thing over the course of this race. Drake now up to 9th, Hayward back to 10th, Donny Yorth back down to the tail of the field. So some scrapping going on in the final 3 in the battle not to be last. And who would want to be? Johnson now up to 5th, passes Martikainen. Martikainen did an excellent job to keep up. Look at Shepard now up the inside of Lund in the first corner. That's going to turn into the outside, but goes through. The two who had the fight for the win at Zandvoort. And in this round, it's over very quickly, providing Lund can't get back into the podium places. Yorth back through to 10th, by the way. Let's look back at Shepard versus Lund to see if Lund can come back at Maddie Shepard. Oh, well, drifting it out on the exit. That's the kind of confidence you need in these cars. Now, Kraus actually dropped back by about 2 seconds there, so maybe made a mistake that we didn't see. Still has a comfortable lead. Such was. Oh, and that was Lund's running wide. And Johnson passes him for 4th. Johnson almost running into the back of Lund's car. The identically liveried Lola. And Lund may be under attack from Martikainen here. Martikainen on the inside. And if Martikainen can pass Lund, that would be a real statement of intent. I'm here and I'm just as fast as you guys. Martikainen has retired from quite a few races this season, so maybe we haven't seen his full potential. Here's Hayward and Yorth going for it. Yorth on the outside. No, on the inside, sorry. And Hayward sweeps around the outside. So obviously got the braking zone, got the ideal line, and kept 10th place. This is exciting. Even if nothing ends up happening out in front, these guys will keep us entertained for the whole race, I'm sure. What about Lawrence? Now sandwiched in between Johnson and Martikainen. I always remember Martikainen for that amazing race in the TC Legends Championship at Mexico City. Because Martikainen in his Mercedes had so much pace that he'd fly past about 5 cars on the straight every single time. He'd gain maybe 5 seconds, maybe more than that. And then he'd start to drop back in the corners, and the drivers would have to try to sweep around him and get far enough ahead so that he wouldn't just fly straight back past them on the straight. And he almost ended up getting a podium out of that win. It was quite something. And that's probably one of my favourite sim races that I've ever had to commentate, because it was just so unique. Big lock up there, and off goes Johnson. So through into 4th goes Lons, through into 5th goes Martikainen. Big lock up from Lakkinen, but he's kept under control, and he will take 5th place. almost ignoring the lap times that Kraus is setting right now. They're so ridiculous that he's clearly in a class of his own. Has been since the start, which is why I got so excited when Shepard got past him, because I thought it meant that we might actually have a race for the lead today. That he might have to fight his way back past Shepard. But sadly, after Shepard made the mistake... Whoa, and MarkII's round! Oh no! Doing donuts in the sand. Lacking him back up to 5th. That's a big shame for MarkII. He was doing so well, and now Tendo might get him. Not quite into the S's. These are the complex S's I was talking about earlier, which aren't really that... Whoopsie daisy, my goodness! Tendo taking flight! Now I said we'd see that happening more often today, and it has. So Drake through to 8th. Come on, safe place. Yep, that looked pretty safe to me. Through goes Hayward. That was crazy stuff. Like a bucking bronco through there. And it looks as if Tendel's going to drop to the very back of the race as a result. Still side by side with Donny Yorth, not wanting to give up 10th place. After all, only one driver will finish outside of the top 10 in this race, and Hayward is going to be in position to be that driver right now, after a mistake from himself. Phil Brown sets a personal best lap of the race, although is in no way catching Phil Kraus at this rate, I'm afraid to say. He's just doing it to show that he can, and also because he's under pressure from Maddie Shepard, as these two fight over what will be 2nd in the race. I'm not even sure that was Phil Kraus that they saw ahead of them. I think it might have been, actually. But sooner or later they're going to reach back markers at this rate, especially if the final few keep spinning off like we've seen them do a couple of times. No offense intended. So, almost a quarter of the way through this race already, but we have a battle forming for 2nd position. Shepard will have to get back past Brown if she's going to get up into what she may feel is her rightful position. Interesting that both of the top 2 in this race are identically liveried. I think there's been another mistake for Tendall, because he's just lost 2 places to Yorth and Hayward. That fight for 9th is possibly the best thing on track right now. And also the lap times for Brown and Shepard, that was quite impressive there. Feisty stuff. Oh, up the inside goes Tendall. That's not the best line through that, but it is if, whoopsie daisy, if your opponent does that. Oh, but they're both off, Tendall and Hayward. I thought that was going to be handed to Tendall on a silver platter there, but off went Hayward as well. Or off he went as well, sorry. So that's given Yorth some breathing room for the time being. And this battle for 10th place will continue at the back. Oh, and MarkII's off again. This is a difficult circuit. Now, I think one of the reasons that this is so difficult is because it's such a rare circuit to race on that I doubt any of these drivers would have actually raced here before. Some drivers may have turned laps, some drivers may have been out here for test sessions or things like that, but I doubt that anyone's actually done a full-blown race here before. As Phil Kraus sets a frankly quite ridiculous lap time. Shepard now in the 133s and going for Brown and making it stick on the inside. That looked quite straightforward, that. So Shepard through to 2nd place. And providing, I mean, she just got into the 133, so let's see what she can do with clean air. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think she's going to be catching Kraus at this rate, but what kind of lap times can she pull out of that Lola? Hayward drops to the back, and that's because he's in the pits. Now I think he teleported to the pits because his name went red just before then, so I think there's been an accident for Stephen Hayward. Potentially over those really nasty, knobbly tyres. But whatever the case, he may be our first casualty from this race. You can rejoin the race if you escape on track, although you'll definitely lose a lap. But it may be worth continuing, since if other drivers drop out, you'll end up scoring more points. Everyone who started this race will score points, or everyone who completed the first lap, which is everyone who started, because points here go down to 15th place, and there are fewer than 15 drivers starting the race. Now Hayward is exiting the pits up there, you can see him just in the distance. Next to right with Kraus actually, Kraus going through. Oh, that's close, they touch! Oh, that's bad! Wow, Kraus stays on the road just about, but that could have been disastrous there. I saw they came out the pits together, I didn't realise it was going to get that close. And considering that was side-to-side contact, I think Kraus will be pretty aggrieved that a backmarker allowed that to happen, to be honest, but anyway. Wow, so is traffic going to play a real part in this race? Now here's Johnson versus Lackinen for 5th. Lackinen's been locking up his tyres a couple of times today. I've seen it a few times now. Possibly under pressure from Johnson behind as well. Johnson wide. Oh, just misses the tyres. That was good avoidance there from Johnson, because if he'd struck those tyres, first of all, he may have got damage to his car, and second of all, he'd have gone to space. And knew he had to avoid the tyres. So there's no longer a fight for 5th, and MarkII. Now that looks to me as if he struck the tyres, because that's about that point on the track, and Drake now up to 7th. Not the first time we've seen MarkII do that, I'm afraid. And off again. Ooh, just keeps it on the line. This is a really difficult circuit, and just demonstrating that. It's this section of S's too. That's the accident black spot. Donny Yorth now back to the pits, so Hayward may get back into the top 10 at this rate. Shame for Donny Yorth, who's doing a good job considering he started from the back. MarkII is off again. And Yorth is out of the race, so Yorth becomes our first retirement. That's a big shame. Let's see MarkII rejoin cleanly. Through goes Tyndall. MarkII losing so much time with that latest excursion. That's the biggest one yet. Does he have damage maybe? The steering seems relatively straight, but he's been off a lot. Quite a few times in this race so far, I'm afraid to say. So continuing on his way, and hopefully cleanly from here on out. Maxim Tyndall, of course, went through just ahead of him, dipping a wheel in the dirt a little bit there, but appears to be okay. And starting another lap of this circuit, considering or seeing as they've stretched out a little bit, let's ride on board with the car to see a lap of this circuit. Apologies if you can hear my dog in the background right now. Now you do brake a little bit for turn 1, the first major braking zone is turn 2. Here are the S's, probably the most difficult point on the track and definitely the most dangerous. I don't know what they were thinking when they put the tyres there, as Maddie Shepherd sets a personal best. Then we have a hairpin. That's where Shepherd overtook Kraus on the first lap of the race, and talking of that, Kraus now leading by almost 11 seconds. Lon's personal best. Couple more little kinks and then we go through a longer right-hander. It's almost 90 degrees in total, although it doesn't feel like it because it's a lot longer than most 90-degree corners. MarkI's just been in the pits, by the way. I can't help but feel that's been for another incident. Still in the race though, that's good to see. Now, some more little S's, not quite as big or as savage as the S's earlier in the lap. And then the final corner, whoops, little out of shape on the entry. But the final corner is a not quite 90-degree left-hander, but close. So that's a lap from Maxime Tendel there, who's doing a decent job in 8th position. And the last driver on the lead lap of the race, who may well end up being lapped by Kraus before long if he's not careful. Oh, Shepard's had an off, I think. Yep, Shepard's had another mistake. And that looks to be at a similar place to where she made a mistake earlier. So Brown back through to second, and that's got to be gutting because Shepard tried so hard to get past Brown and was racing him for so long, and now has thrown it all away. Still has another chance, of course. He needs to make sure the tyres aren't cooked. Personal best for Lons. But yeah, Shepard's biggest rival has always been herself. And often when she feels that things aren't going her way, she'll make more mistakes and exacerbate it. But in her day, ooh! And who's that going off? Was that Brown? Well, so Shepard had a big lockup. MarkI's also off as well. Shepard had a big lockup. Now I'm not sure if she touched the back of Brown or not. That looked very much like the first lap of the race. That looked a lot like when Shepard passed Kraus there. Well, Shepard's still ahead, so obviously doesn't feel that it was her fault, because if she did, she'd have given it back by now. Is MarkI out of this race because he is having real trouble trying to rejoin the track right now. I really hope he can do it cleanly. Why is he reversing there? That's interesting. As Kraus becomes the first driver to set under 1 minute 33. Now I have no idea what MarkI is doing, but hopefully he has a reason for it. Anyway, so Hayward up to 9th as we pan away from that. Shepard up to Shepard sets her personal best lap of the race that last time, despite the dramatic lockup. Very interesting. So, let's take a look at some of the other drivers we haven't seen that much. Hayward, of course, was in that three-way fight for 9th, and now has that, considering MarkI is dawdling in the grass somewhere, and Yorf is out. And it seems to be pretty safe, actually, for Hayward, providing he can continue and MarkI doesn't. Lakinen's off from 5th. And that is a very familiar point on the racetrack, isn't it? And through goes Johnson. So Mark Johnson 5th, Jari Lakinen down to 6th. Phil Kraus, fastest lap of the race. No surprises there. And Brown is off. Oh, and Lons there had to take avoiding action. Because Brown made a big mistake from 3rd, didn't see what happened. But something did. And now it's Lauren Lons in that position. Oh, that's a nice camera view down the start-finish straight. So let's watch Brown for a bit, see if he can get back at Lauren Lons. Now I have to say, this is in the realms of technical failure or something for MarkI, unless he's just sitting there to enjoy the action. But really should have escaped back to the pits right now. Whoa! And a huge accident! Phil Brown has struck the tyres and flipped! And that is very rare to see in Assetto Corsa. Cars don't tend to fly here. And Phil Brown is out of the race. That is a huge shame. He was fighting for third, and he has had a monster accident there. Assetto, of course, it doesn't like it when the cars flip that much. You can tell by the tyres flying everywhere. But huge crash for Phil Brown, and he is out of the race in gutting circumstances. That is a big shame. Well, that's got the hearts racing, hasn't it? Talking of racing, no real on-track battles right now, but that's okay. Let's take a look at our leader, Phil Kraus. Absolutely dominating. 20 seconds is now his advantage. And we're not even in the pit stop stages yet. Remember, every driver will need to come in once to change all 4 tyres and potentially top up on fuel. And I expect that will start to happen soon, actually. In the next 5 minutes, we'll start to see some of the scheduled stops, rather than the very unscheduled ones that we've seen so far today. And I hope I didn't give anyone a heart attack by suddenly panning to that Phil Brown shot, because of course he's racing with the same livery that Phil Kraus is, but it wasn't Phil Kraus who went for the big flip. That was Phil Brown. Lackinen up to 4th. Oh, and off! Looks as if he left his braking too late in the process, and is now off into the sand himself. So Johnson 4th. Does Lackinen make it through the S's okay? Yes, indeed. I always like to make sure of that. Whoa, big lockup. We've seen that so many times. Lackinen's setup, obviously, not particularly kind on the brakes right now. Maddie Shepherd, 21 seconds behind the leader. Fast lap times, but not scintillating like Kraus is. And talking of fast lap times, Lauren Lunds there, setting his personal best. Running in very clean air there in 3rd position. Now I'm afraid that the various incidents and accidents we've seen have deprived us of much close racing so far in this race. But that's okay, we've still got plenty of time left to go. And but I do feel that the field is just going to keep spreading out at this point, and it's all going to be about whether you can survive the race or not, whether you can avoid going flying over those tyres that have caught out so many drivers so far. I think Brown's the first person who's flipped, although we haven't seen a few of the incidents. 8 drivers remaining in this race now. And at that rate, considering we're not even halfway through yet, we could end up with only maybe 4 or 5 finishes. It doesn't quite work like that. Often you get fewer retirements in the second half because there are simply fewer cars to retire. But sometimes you get more because drivers start to lose concentration. Now Kimi Martikainen there appeared to briefly rejoin the race, and he's back. So Martikainen, 6 laps down after being stopped in the sand for all of that time, is back in the race. I mean, barely. He's still 6 laps down, but good for him for not bailing out of it. Anyway, he's just out there to see if he can, I guess, pick up the points for passing Brown, and maybe have the pride of saying he finished. And that's okay. Those are valid things. And Lackinen is in the pits. Now that is probably scheduled at this point in the race. And that, of course, is because we are in the pit stop stages. So it's probably about time that we look to our leaders and see when they come in. Kraus did not come in on that last lap. He flew through and set a lap time of 1:32.718, which is quite mind-boggling at this point in time. I've never driven this circuit, so I don't know how fast this is, but the fact that no one else can get anywhere near that time shows me that it is pretty darn quick. And understandably so. Lauren Luns stays out and sets a personal best. That's pretty quick there from Luns. That is a good time. I think that's just as fast as Shepard's personal best. Don't know if it's maybe slightly faster or slightly slower, but it's about that, if I remember correctly. So Luns has the pace, but not quite the consistency. And I believe that's Tyndall up ahead that he is about to catch and lap. And we know it's Tyndall because of that big puff of smoke in the braking zone. Sorry, that was kind of mean of me, but he has been locking up a lot so far this race. Over halfway through the race now. And the pit stops are about to come thick and fast. So far, Hayward, Martikainen's in for the second time now, so I think something's wrong here with Martikainen. And Kraus in! Kraus locking up, but reaches his pit box. Oh no, he slightly overshoots it! I mean, he has the buffer to do that, but even so, doesn't want to. So he stops in his box. Let's see if Shepard decides to duck in. Shepard stays out, so Kraus is about to be passed for the lead, albeit temporarily. And Luns stays out as well. Let's ride on board with Mark Johnson for a bit until we get to the next pit stop. Kraus will be out in front of him. Let's quickly check. Yep, Kraus has clean air, so he has orchestrated that well. And will still have an advantage over Shepard despite missing his box. Such was his advantage, but that won't help him anyway. Could have afforded to have come in a bit gentler, but that's pretty much his only mistake in this race so far. Now, why is Kraus supposedly dropped behind Johnson? Well, that may be a timing screen glitch, or it may be that, yes, look, because Kraus here is dropping, he's not being registered, and everyone who's going through is passing him. So I think, well, I had an issue the other day. Let me try if I can, let me see if going back to the pits and then rejoining helps. No. Now, I had an issue the other day where I was commentating a single-seater race, and there were drivers, no, not quite, sorry. Yeah, and there were drivers who suddenly seemed to stop being scored, and by the end of the race they were registered as being like 16 or 17 laps down. Now, that doesn't affect their race position, so as far as I'm aware, Kraus is still in the net lead here, and will be third on track, although for the rest of the race he will be registered as several laps down. Now, that's a big shame and very annoying, but I'm afraid I don't know if there's anything I can do about that. It is just a very strange glitch that happens. However, with that being said, he was scored on that last lap, and is now registered as being past Tyndall. So, has there been something that's gone wrong with Phil Kraus's timing? It looks almost like the game's cost him a lap somehow. Let me just check quickly if on the live timing. Yeah, look at that. On the live timing, he's registered as being 5th. So I think there's quite a chance here. I really want to know what's happened there, because it's either that I have got a glitch, or that something on the track has, because all of a sudden Phil Kraus has lost an entire lap that he very clearly didn't lose, while in the pits. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on that, see if it resolves itself later in the race, because this doesn't look like the glitch that I was suffering from the other day. Very bizarre. And if that costs Kraus the win, that will be absolutely gutting and very unfair, and I believe the stewards may well end up giving him his lap back. So, Lauren Lunds into the pits from second on the road. There goes Kraus. Will Kraus be scored on that lap? Yes, he was. So I think the game has just deduced Kraus a lap. I really don't see why that would have happened, but let's see if the same thing happens to Lons after his pit stop. Because if it happens to everyone, then they're all in the same boat. Johnson into the pits. Let's see if he stops smoothly. Oh, has Kraus had enough? Yes, he has! The first proper mistake today from Phil Kraus. And it comes in the S's. How much time did he lose though? Now, let me just double check something. Where's Drake on track? Is Drake ahead or behind of Lons? Where's that? I'm struggling to work out where they are on track because I don't know this track well, but Lons' time doesn't appear to be updating, so I hope that this glitch is the same for everyone and that it's going to deduce everyone a lap after their pit stop, because that would make it fair. Okay, Shepard in the pits. Stops in her box, doesn't overshoot it, that's important. Now, where will she be in relation to Phil Kraus? Because Kraus of course made a mistake, but how big was that mistake? Out of the pits comes Shepard. There's Kraus! Shepard's gonna take the lead here! Okay, Shepard takes the temporary lead as a result of the combined mistakes from Phil Kraus. Kraus will be all over the back of Shepard here. And look, the timer is now registering Kraus as being ahead of Lons, so it looks as if the game is deducing everyone a lap after their pit stop for whatever reason. So even though it looks as if Kraus is 2 minutes behind Shepard, that's simply not the case. This is the fight for the lead. Well, actually, I think Drake might be leading for the time being, since Drake, I don't think, has served his pit stop yet. But these two are the effective race leaders who are going at it on track. Also, Mads Cannon's rejoined. Jolly good. Maybe just some lengthy damage repairs, and he's off again. And he's back on again. Doing the racing hokey cokey as Kimmy Mads Cannon. In, out, shake it all about. Okay, towards the end of another lap, let's see if Kraus can slipstream Shepard down the start-finish straight. The timer looking a lot more representative now. Even though Drake is yet to make his stop. Across the lane. Yeah, it appears that the game simply doesn't register you crossing the start-finish line if you've been in the pits. So a little glitch with the race. Kraus right on the back of Shepard here, like a hungry shark. The a squat Lola looks like a cat waiting to pounce. And pounce Kraus will want to. Past the cones. Don't know what Fram means, but I've seen that a couple of times on that cone now. Mark Johnson setting a personal best after his stop. I wonder how many cars are going to be on the lead lap at the end of this race. Maybe 3? It's not been the closest of races, but this battle for the lead could provide enough excitement for one day. Kraus, by all rights, should, or at least as far as he's concerned, be a long way ahead of Shepard right now, but he's made a couple of mistakes there. And if those end up costing him the win, then I'm afraid so be it, because you've got to be clean to be a race driver. And Shepard has been a lot more consistent today, despite the fact she actually made a few mistakes of her own earlier on. Drake stays out. I wonder if Shepard knows that she's fighting for the win. She probably does, because Shepard and Kraus tend to be in a voice call during these races. They said they weren't taking it hugely seriously last time out at Riverside, because they knew they were so much faster than everyone else. They could just battle by themselves and have fun. And that appeared to be what was going on. Markikainen, I'm afraid, is in the outstage of his racing hokey cokey. Into the final 20 minutes of the race now. The final third. Still a little way to go, but that timer will run out far quicker than Phil Kraus will want to see. Lackinen, I think, had enough. Let's see if Hayward goes through. Well, Hayward, I think, is a couple of laps down to Lackinen, so I don't think it would matter if he did. These two are actually approaching that little chain there. Ooh, very wide goes Shepard. All four wheels into the sand. Kraus is going to get a much better run despite dipping wheels off himself. Fastest lap of the race for Kraus, up the inside. And goes through, and it's clean. And keeps it within the lines. Beautiful move from Phil Kraus there. I wonder why drivers don't go more defensive into turn 1, because we've seen plenty of overtakes there. And I know that I would be doing my absolute best to cover it off if I was in that situation, but I guess the drivers misjudge how much of an opportunity for overtaking that is, considering how fast it is. Now don't be alarmed, that's not an engine failure you just saw up ahead of you, that is the brakes of Maxim Tendell's car. They just seem to do that today. Of course, if you lock up once, every time you lock up again, at least in real life, the tyre wants to rest in that one position where you flat spotted it before. It's not quite like that in Assetto Corsa, as they lap Stephen Hayward, because it doesn't simulate flat spots, but anyway, you certainly don't want to be locking up so much. Shepard there appeared to be slightly more balked than Kraus was, but they both got through cleanly. Sid Drake's having a whale of a time leading this race, isn't he? Doesn't want to stop. And who can blame him? His, no offence to Sid, his best, or his average finishing position so far this year has been 10th.25, so effectively 10th. And to be first, it'll be like one of those, hey mum, look at me moments. But admittedly, Drake is doing a very good job in this race, because of all the drivers here, he's probably been one of the ones who's made the fewest mistakes. And his lap times, while not scintillating, have been fairly good. Ooh. Big lock up from Tendell as they try to pass him, and Johnson ahead locking up the tyres as well. So they've got past Tendell. That'll look clean. Now that's not Johnson, and that's because... oh, sorry, it was Lackinen they got past that, and then it's Tendell up ahead. Whoa, and Shepard spins! Oh no! So the battle for the lead may be over for good, because Shepard got into the sand, kept her foot in it, shouldn't have done that, and spun to the inside, and lunged through to third! Now I was saying just now that Shepard had been one of the most consistent drivers, or at least more consistent than Kraus, although I'm afraid that's not the first time we've seen her do that. Tendell also off. So Lons on course for a podium, maybe second at this rate. I think Drake will probably come out in about 5th, maybe 6th. But yeah, a bit of a shame there for Maddie Shepherd, who'd been running well in that fight there. But it looks as if the fight for the lead once again is over, unless there are more mistakes for Phil Kraus. Here's Mark Johnson, first driver not on the lead lap of the race, although running well in 5th position. These are difficult cars to drive, so running 5th, no matter how many mistakes you've made, is an impressive achievement. Even though there are only 8 drivers remaining in this race, unless you count Martikainen, who appears to be Schrodinger's driver right now. Drake's still going fairly quickly. Set his personal best lap of the race last time around. So I guess why would he pit? If he's still going quickly, still benefiting from the clean air out in front of him, and there's not really any reason to come in. You do have to before the end of the race, so he will still have to, but I guess why not leave it till the last 10 minutes or so. It's not as if these cars suffer badly from tyre wear. They might if you lock up your front tyres or have too many spins or whatever, but Drake's been one of the cleanest drivers today, so I think he'll be okay. Fuel's a bigger worry, because these drivers don't tend to start on full tanks. They tend to start on just enough so that they can refuel in the pits without losing any time at all. Do what's basically a free refuel. That is at least according to what I heard from Maddie Shepherd earlier this season. It's a shame that this is the last round of the Lola T70 Championship. I'm looking forward to seeing what we have for the future championships on Assetto Corsa. Whatever it is, if you do want to join, you very much can, because this is a completely free league to enter. You just go to simracingonline.co.uk and you can enter races on Race Room Experience, Assetto Corsa, Assetto Corsa Competizioni, R-Factor 1, R-Factor 2, Automobilista, Project Cars 2, and potentially other simulators in the near future as well. So if you're interested in sim racing, log on and do it, I guess. And no matter what your skill level is, you'll likely find drivers to fight against in leagues like this. I mean, Phil Kraus, for example, is a Formula Sim Racing driver, FSR, and is known for being pretty darn quick. And then you have other drivers who don't really have time to practice and just kind of turn up to have some fun on a Monday night or whatever night their league is on, and that's okay. I like that dynamic. I like the fact that whoever you are, you can find someone to race against. It's a very good environment here. If you want to race against me specifically, and I don't know why you would, but anyway, I'm normally in the R-Factor 2 events, the USF 2000 Road to Indy. I don't want to flex, but I'm kind of leading that right now. And then later on this month, we've got the special event, the Indy 125, which I've been so close to winning in the past, and I really want this year to be my year. I think I might just leave the camera on Mark Johnson for a bit until something happens, because he seems to be a relatively entertaining, relatively smooth driver. He's catching a driver to lap up ahead. But that's okay. Let's just quickly check who that is. Sid Drake. Well, it's not a driver to lap because Drake is leading this race. At least temporarily. Hopefully Drake knows he still needs to pit, because every driver will. And if he doesn't know that, he'll have a penalty heading this way, but I think surely he does. We'll give him time before we start panicking, I guess. Lauren Lawrence, personal best lap of the race. Not quite as quick as Shepard, but making it difficult for Shepard to catch. Slight mistake there for Johnson. Yeah, making it difficult for Shepard to catch up. It almost looked as if we were going to have a championship battle between those two earlier on, but sadly, that didn't really end up happening. I've just noticed, actually, looking through the statistics on the SimRacingOnline website. Whoa, and Lawrence has had enough, I think, so Shepard is back through to third. Okay, well that was unexpected. Lauren Lawrence, who was making it very difficult for Shepard to catch, obviously was just pushing too hard. Was too worried about the driver behind, and has made a mistake. Now the driver behind him, whoa, don't do that again. That's how Shepard sponges now. The driver behind him is a lap down, although going through. Look at that, Jari Lackinen trying to unlap himself to Lauren Lawrence. Is he going to make it stick on the outside? This will be cheeky, but he's got every right to do so if he can. Oh, they touch! I think they touched anyway. And Lawrence keeps it. That was shades of Hayward and Kraus earlier on in this race, if you remember that. Anyway, as I was going to say, I noticed that on the overall SimRacingOnline standings, we have a new number one, Yuri Vizlarzul, who I don't think I've ever raced against, and I didn't know. Well, actually, looking at his stats, he's entered 5 races, all in the IMSA DPI series, and won all of them. Wow. Hopefully someone I can race against in the future. That would be cool. The highest driver in this race on the standings is Phil Kraus. He's done 4 events and won 1 of them, which puts him 6th on the overall driver rankings for SimRacingOnline. And Drake is in the pits. There we go. With one of the longest stints ever, Drake pits, and that was a very good stint actually, I've got to hand it to him. I'm really interested to see where he comes out after that, because all that clean air can't have done him much bad unless his tyres were going off. Phil Kraus is going to retake the lead of the race. There he goes, Phil Kraus leads. Matty Shepard is going to retake second. Sid Drake is second! Oh no, sorry, I forgot that, oh no, I forgot he hasn't had that lap deduced from him yet, has he? Sorry for panicking, anyone, but anyway. Kim Wettkinen informs us in the YouTube chat that the tyres take 29 laps without dropping performance. Well, we've done 33 laps so far, so I guess that would be about the right time for Drake to pit if he was doing an extremely long stop, which indeed he did. Yeah, so just a reminder, we have a slight track glitch, which means once you pit, you're deduced a lap gradually over the course of the next lap. So Sid Drake is not yet registered as being on the lap that he's actually on. And Phil Kraus there just overtook him on track, or lapped him I should say. So Drake will be 2 laps down when this all sorts itself out. So Shepard will be second, Lons will be third, Johnson will be 4th I believe. He's about to cross the line and go up into 4th place I think. But Drake will be maybe 5th. Oh, Hayward having it off. And luckily no one coming through that section, so that didn't end up being bad. Tyndall off. People starting to lose concentration maybe. Whoopsie daisy. Okay, Drake crossed the line to trigger his timer again. So Drake is in 5th position after that long stint. That is actually pretty impressive there from Sid Drake. So just 5.5 minutes remaining in this race now. who should we watch for a bit? If you have any recommendations, put it in the chat. But I think for now we should take a look at these two, because Lons is a lot closer to Shepard than before. Maybe another mistake from Shepard, or maybe Lons is just quicker at this point in the race. We've seen that Lons' fastest lap, it's only about 3 or 4 tenths off Shepard, so maybe they've got into a situation with their tyres and with their fuel where Lons is actually just as quick. We have to see how this plays out in the remaining 5 minutes of this race. The tension building. Precision perfect there on the lines from both of those drivers. That was pretty beautiful, pretty smooth. Just 4 drivers on the lead lap now. And at this rate, it may well come down to just 3. Johnson might just hang on actually, because the lap here is about 1:33, so he's got maybe 15 seconds in advantage. So we need to have a spin or something for that to for him to require to be lapped. But anyway, Lons' last lap a lot slower than Shepard, so it looks to me as if Shepard just made another little mistake before, allowing Lons onto her tail, and now she will start to pull away again, and hopefully we'll understand that she's just got to keep her head this time. So, into the late stages of this race, and it's all going to come down to, are we going to see any more mistakes from drivers, or are they going to be okay? Oh, and just as I say that, Phil Krause has made a mistake! He appears to be okay. How much time did he lose from that? Does he have damage? That would have got his heart racing. Steering's in a straight line. And he didn't actually lose that much time, only 3 seconds maybe? So he'll still be safe, and that's why you want a buffer like he made for himself, because you can afford to make mistakes and have offs and things like that, and dipping wheels into the grass there. But anyway, yeah, you can afford to have offs and things like that and still keep the lead. Lons just set his personal best, which may have been slightly faster than Shepard's last lap. Two minutes to go now. The next lap, I presume, will be the last one. Let's take a look at Maddie Shepard. That's right on board with Maddie Shepard. You might just about be able to see Lons in the mirrors when we get into the right angle, although the timing screen covering the mirrors somewhat. And that mistake from Krause pretty much confirms that Mark Johnson will finish on the lead lap, so very good job from him. It's a nice engine tone. Sorry I've had to turn it down a bit, I just needed to make sure you could hear me. Hayward had a little off, but rejoins the track okay. Here's Lauren Lons. Now where's Krause? Has he started the final lap? Yeah, that's the exit of turn 1, so that looks as if Phil Krause has started the final lap of the race. So when the timer ticks 0, I'll have a look at him. Personal best Shepard. 1.4 seconds faster than Lons. That is very quick. Slight touch of the grass there. Little lock-up from Shepard up ahead. And at this stage, it really is all about just bringing it home. because unless Shepard makes a mistake, there's nothing that Lons will be able to do about her. There's 5 apexes in that S's section. No wonder it's brutal. If the car gets unsettled, you're in all sorts of trouble. So Phil Kraus just has a couple more corners to go in this race. He has been utterly dominant. Hasn't been flawless, but he's been near enough. And his pace has been unsettlingly quick. Out of the final corner, over the grass, not slowing down even on the last lap. And Phil Kraus wins, and as a result comes second in the championship. Very good work from Phil. Maddie Shepard is going to hold on to second. Well, let's not speak too soon because the final corner is fairly difficult, but I think we can safely say that Shepard will be second. There we go. So Shepard will be second, Lons will be third. Drake has already finished fifth, and I've got to say that was actually quite impressive from Drake there. And the only other driver on the lead lap will be Mark Johnson. He's currently held up a little behind Stephen Hayward, who hopefully will be getting out of the way soon. But it won't really matter too much because it's not as if Johnson is racing anyone at this point. Lackinen just finished 6th. Tyndall will finish 7th, and then Hayward will finish 8th. Props to Hayward for continuing despite not being in a championship fight and despite losing several laps in an incident earlier on. Tyndall finishes 7th, meaning the order is absolutely confirmed now. We're just waiting for these two to see the checkered flag. When I say absolutely confirmed, these are of course unofficial results, but you very rarely get post-race penalties in SimRacingOnline. The results do tend to be fairly official as soon as they finish. Across the finish line, Mark Johnson P4. Not a bad performance there from Mark. So that's the lot. Phil Kraus has won, followed by our champion-elect Maddie Shepard. And then it's Lauren Lyons, Mark Johnson, Sid Drake, Jari Lackinen, Maxime Tyndall, Stephen Hayward, and then the retirements were Phil Brown, Kimi Martikainen, and Donny Yorth. So that's the lot, not just for the race, but for the series. And I want to thank you all so much for watching, not just today, but for all 6 of these rounds. Personally, my favourite was the first at Zandvoort, but we've had so much fun at all of these rounds. And I'm looking forward to commentating and racing in whatever other series are coming up shortly on SimRacingOnline. So thank you all so much for watching. Congratulations to our race winner Phil Kraus and our championship winner Maddie Shepard, and of course our team's championship Maple Racing as a result. And yeah, congratulations to everyone who achieved anything in this series. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.